They were stacked up there. He always drew a little smiley face with a magic marker on the heel of the stick. It was just something that he always did.
Unlike me, who can be sloppy at times with things, every fact had to be, he's an English teacher, so he was like, you know, everything had to be perfect. And I remember I had the wrong goalie in a game. It was Edmonton goalie, and he just was on me about that forever. The fact that one guy was black and one was white didn't help. It was maybe the biggest mistake in my career. But he would be all over me because and rightfully so, he said everything has to be accurate. It was accuracy, accuracy, accuracy. But beyond that, you could tell that he was a guy that just loved doing his job. If he wasn't singing opera, which was annoying, it was just, he was just talking your ear off about hockey. And sometimes, I have to admit, I was just a little tired of talking hockey. Gene was never tired of talking hockey.
In the first parade, we were in open cars in convertibles, so we weren't all together. And the car that I was in with my wife overheated about 3 blocks into the parade, and so it had to be pushed. And these fans pushed us from, you know, almost 2 or 3 miles all the way into the city because the car overheated and just stopped. And by the time we got there, I remember we used to wear safari jackets back in those days, and the sleeve from my jacket had been ripped off. So I had this suit on with only one sleeve. Looked like I'd been through a war. And all the way along, people kept giving us things, and champagne and beer, and it was really a crazy party.
I can almost remember everything about those years, and the parades. I can remember the Monday night games against California. I can remember the Thursday night 8 o'clock starts. You know, I went to practice every chance I got. I used to steal Rick McLeish's sticks all the time. Used to ask, you know, for Bobby Clark's autograph all the time, and you know, eventually he finally looked at me and said, "How many of these do you have?" And you know, I just loved it. You know, Terry Crisp and Bernie Perrant, and just being around. You know, the guys, I still remember guys treating me so great, like Jimmy McKenzie, the equipment trainer. He used to sharpen my skates all the time, and now I have our guys here sharpening my boys' skates, and I still talk about Jim McKenzie, you know, Frankie Lewis, guys like that. These guys treated me great around the locker room, and I was always very respectful too, which I want my boys to be around our players here, that it was always Mr. Clark or Mr. McLeish or Mr. Perrant, and you know, so it was just a great time in my life, and you know, I'm very fortunate I was, you know, old enough to remember that.
In 1973, when I came back from Toronto to the Flyers, they had big headlines in the papers in Philly. Perrant is back in town and should have helped the team win the Stanley Cup. The first exhibition game against the Rangers, as a matter of fact, I stepped on the ice. Big standing ovation. You know, my ego was as high as the sky, and 10 minutes later, the Rangers had scored 8 goals against me. So, needless to say, it went from a standing ovation to throwing stuff at me on the ice. But you know, it's a little bit funny now, but at the time it wasn't. But that year we came back, and we won the Stanley Cup. So, a little message behind this that don't give up when it's dark out there. The sun will shine again.
Bunch of Canadians just in town, you know, just young 21-year-olds and 22-year-olds and stuff like that, and we sort of got taken over by the fans here, because everywhere you went, you were known and stuff like that. And we did win the 2 parades, and they were, you know, 2 of the biggest parades I ever saw, because you know, you couldn't even go to the bathroom. I had to get on a policeman's horse, and he rode the horse in the show. And I got off, went to the bathroom, got back on the horse, got back in the caravan. So, you know, they take care of you. And the fans here are just, they're great. They're the best, sporting-wise, they're the best fans around.
The other was a game in Boston. It was when NBC was broadcasting the NHL. They had been promoting for weeks this game the Flyers were going to play it Sunday afternoon in Boston. It was going to be Bernie Perron against Jerry Cheevers. It was a big thing. They'd been promoting it for weeks. Bernie had played 22 consecutive games. The teams come out for warm-up, and Bobby Taylor comes out first and takes the warm-up. Scotty Connell, who was the famous producer for NBC in those days, was apoplectic. And he ran around. He found Freddie sitting in the bowels of Boston Garden and said, "Freddie, what is this? Why isn't Bernie Perron playing? Well, why is Bobby Taylor playing?" And Freddie looked up at him and said, "It's easy. It's his turn." So that was Freddie.
We've talked about the great camaraderie and family feeling that the Flyers emanate. And actually this necklace is part of a very special story to me with the Flyers. You always hear how the measure of great success is truly shown in how people face their adversity, along with their triumphs, but really how they face their adversity. And the Flyers have certainly had their share. The loss of Barry Ashby and players and family members along the way, including my father, who passed away in 1999 from complications of cancer. And very shortly after that, I was diagnosed with cancer, 6 months.
It is amazing. Everybody had a nickname back on our team.
You know, it was like Animal House.
Billy Barber's name's the Pig. You got to figure that one out. I'm sure he can explain that one for you. We got Rick McCliss as the Hog.
McLeish swooping in on him to center ice for Philadelphia.
I got it from swooping the way I skate with long hair and stuff like that.
We had the Moose, which was Moose Dupont.
Actually, Dupont, when he played junior, he was Pompon de Train Dupont, okay, whatever that means in French. So I guess we just added the Moose.
And mine, Big Bird, came from, it was just happened to be in warm-ups in a game. And I had pretty long hair. Sesame Street was big back then. And some kid was watching us warm up and said, "That guy looks like Big Bird," to his mother. Bobby Clark heard it, and it was all over.
The very first day I went to training camp, I'm a rambunctious kid out of junior hockey, and I flattened Joe Watson, and he got up, and by then, general manager was sitting in the stands, and I said, yells, "Hey, Keith, where'd you get this mad dog from?" After about 2 years, I said, this is not good. I mean, it's kind of sticking. It's nice to have a nickname, but, with kids and all that, I mean, we switched it to Hound, so basically in pursuit of the hockey puck.
For different reasons, you get a nickname. And again, mine was, actually started by a writer.
And go at it they do as Howard keeps bumping the right hand, and now the right hand of Schultz is loose.
I know that one game he said, "Boy, did you ever hammer that guy?" And then there came my nickname, the Hammer.
My nickname was given to me by Keith Allen. He was calling me the Riverton Rifle since I was from Riverton, Manitoba. And since I could shoot the puck so hard, and I was clocked at about 110 a couple times, it stuck with me.
Holy cow! Reggie Leach!
Joe Watson, when you talk to him, I mean, Thundermouth, you can understand they didn't have telephones in Smithers. They just yelled from mountain to mountain.
He can speak in public and he doesn't need a microphone. Okay, he can be pretty loud.
Orest Kinderchuk, we called him Oscar the Grouch, and if you interview Orest and you get to know Orest, he always is a little bit dour. He's not the kind of guy that's the most congenial guy in the world, so he deserved his name.
Cowboy Flat. I mean, wore a cowboy hat all the time.
Eddie Van Imp to Zamboni. I mean, when he flattened the Russian there, and they left the ice, I mean, there's a reason why he was called that.
Clarky's name was, once in a while we call him Whitey, because his face was always so white when he played, and so it's something that, everybody knew their nicknames and everything else, so it worked out great.
Long before professional teams sort of did these public carnivals or special days out, the Flyers were on the game, and they created the Flyers Wives Carnival.
During the years that the Stanley Cup years, as we affectionately call them, the wives got together and really wanted a way to give back to the community. And we thought it would be great if we could come up with an event that was sort of ours, like a signature event. So I remember going in to see Mr. Snyder and asking if he would give us the building, if we could come up with an idea. And he said, sure, for charity, I think that would be great.
Well, I was on the board of the Izbrodsky Cancer Institute at Hahnemann Hospital and University, and they wondered if there was a fundraiser that we could have that would benefit the Cancer Institute. So I came back to our people, and after they brainstormed, we had a PR man. He came up with the idea for the carnival.
We had our first carnival, and we hired a carnival company, and we had games and whatever, and it was a resounding success. Little did we know that the following year, one of our friends and players, Barry Ashby, unfortunately got leukemia and died within months, and after that, we just couldn't let go because that was our cause.
For me, the first one was great, and my husband was here, and the second one, he had already died, so they made it in memory of him.
The bottom line is that through Barry, you know, we've helped a lot of families, a lot of people, a lot of children, and hopefully, you know, battle this cancer.
Over the years, we raised so much money that the hospital where he had been treated, there's a whole floor with his name on it. After a number of years, we were getting so many letters from hundreds of other worthy causes, and we just felt that it was time. It was time to spread the wealth a little bit. We probably net about $1 million a year on average, which is unbelievable for any charity event.
I thought it was really neat to have some people come up and say, this is my 20th year coming, or I used to come with my parents, or, you know, my grandpa used to take me.
The key to the event's success is that the players are 100% involved.
It's a wonderful opportunity to give back to the community, and what they do and the awareness they raise and the money they raise really is tremendous and a worthwhile cause.
What better way to get an autograph, get a photo with your favorite player, just sort of come close to these heroes that so many people never get to see. And it actually is a tool to gain more fans. Fans in Philadelphia never leave you.
It's a big opportunity for the Flyers to give back, and they work on it all year. There's a lot of little people involved to make it work, and that's something that's very steady in the Flyers organization. They do it every year. You know, it doesn't matter what the team is doing. It doesn't matter if they're winning or losing or whatever. People can always count on the carnival.
Corner, forechecking Ben Wilson. Clark steals along the right wing boards at the circle and dives. He scores!
He thoroughly enjoyed his life's work. And I didn't know that this was the one thing that he wanted to do beyond everything until I found out about an autograph book in which he had written, my goal in life, to be an NHL broadcaster.
Gene loved the Philadelphia Flyers. I mean, he had the logo stamped on his heart.
It was just absolutely lived and died by the Philadelphia Flyers. And you know, he's the perfect broadcaster of the Philadelphia Flyers. You'd have to tune in your radio and you'd listen, you know, right away if you're tuning in that we're either winning or losing because you could hear it in his voice.
To the point now. Screen shot.
He had fun with doing his job. In other words, if anyone in life got their dream job, it was Gene Hart.
You know what's going to happen to me now. Oh, you got him. It's a pleasure, Genie.
Gene was Mr. Hockey. I remember I went to his house and I'm thinking, he's crazy. He had these cups or mugs or something over the mantel on his fireplace, and every morning he'd arrange them in like the standings. I'm like, well, I like hockey, but I can't do that. But he was so into it.
I'll never forget hearing his broadcast when we won the first cup. At the end, when we won the cup, it's just, we hear those words in our sleep.